Welcome back, friends and family. Today on the Phil Hodges Experience, we'll be checking out a Fox News clip. Apparently, I guess some sort of fight has erupted over, over the migrant crisis at the border. For those of you that don't know, to put it loosely, I'm for the wall. And so if you're also for the wall or not for the wall, you can go ahead and drop a comment. And if you like this kind of content, by the way, a subscription, a thumbs up, and a bell icon would really help support me and the channel and my future endeavors of becoming an influencer / politician. So please go ahead and leave all those comments, help me out with the algorithm and stuff like that. And we're going to jump right into this to just kind of figure out what's going on. I'll just kind of make comments as things progress. So with that, let's just jump right in.
Everyone, this is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Campagno, and also joining me today, Fox Business anchor and host of American Dream Home on Fox Business, Cheryl Casoni, Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce, former State Department spokesperson and founder of Polaris National Security, Morgan Ortagus, and Fox News contributor and host of The Guy Benson Show on Fox News Radio, Guy Benson. Now we begin with growing tensions surrounding New York City's dire migrant crisis. A crowd of more than 100 protesters gathered outside of Mayor Eric Adams' residence yesterday to call out the city's failed handling of the situation.
Okay, so when I hear things like 100 protesters, that doesn't seem like a lot, and I don't even know why Fox News is reporting on that. Unless I don't understand the scale of stuff, like maybe normally only like 6 people show up, so 100's a lot, but like isn't like at the pro-life march like 100,000 people show up? Like, I'm not... So that's what I mean. Like, 100 doesn't seem like a big deal to me, but I don't know.
Some accused the city of putting migrants before Americans, while fights broke out with nearby counter-protesters.
Physical fights? Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Did you see that? Look. Female officer, well, I'll use mouse. Female officer trying to move around and block these large combatants and hostile, powerful adrenaline, pumped combatants. What's she gonna do? Man, women, pick your careers a little bit better. Watch. Look, she's just walking and pacing. She's staying out of it.
NYPD officers made several arrests after that violence, including this woman who was seen trying to light the American flag on fire before stomping it into the ground. These migrant protests are now becoming increasingly common throughout the Big Apple as the city's blue leadership remains without an answer to the crisis. So far, over 100,000 migrants have entered the Big Apple in recent weeks, and officials say the city's blue leadership remains without an answer to the crisis. So far, over 100,000 migrants have entered the Big Apple in recent weeks, and officials say the city's shelter system is out of room. Many migrants have been left with no...
Welcome to the club. Texas, my home state. That happens to us like every month.
No choice but to sleep on the streets of this so-called sanctuary city. Tammy, you've been a long-time resident here. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, I was just, we're always hearing about numbers, and it's now 100,000 people is a lot of people. But to the year to date so far, year 2023 from the Customs Border Patrol page, 2.49 million encounters. Now, that does not say that they've seen everyone, right? But these are the people that we know have moved in. So when you think about a sanctuary city, New York is a sanctuary city. California, sanctuary state. Los Angeles, sanctuary city. Incentivizing, right? Or they're supposed to be ready for this. They've invited people effectively to come, that we are here for you. That's a sanctuary city dynamic. So when you've got, 100,000 people straining this New York area, what about El Paso? What about those small towns? The places where the other 2.3 million people have gone. Certainly 100,000 is not 2.3 million. So this is an issue for the country, but it is in part due to this incentivizing by these messages that have gone international, that we want you to come, We are ready for you to come. So, of course, it makes sense. When people come over the border, they don't say, I want to settle in El Paso. They say, I want to go to New York. Who doesn't want to come to one of the greatest cities in the world? Who doesn't want to go to Los Angeles? So these movements are happening by choice, but also this is where people want to go when they're crossing that.
Yeah, that's true. One of my favorite things that my personal governor does is he buses people to D.C. and all that kind of stuff. Him and DeSantis of Florida, and I think maybe a couple other people. But they teamed up and they're like, yeah, if they want to go there, let's help them go. And as far as that goes, in general, go ahead and spend my tax dollars on that, especially since our governor, Greg Abbott, just lowered the property taxes. Like, hey, man, you're doing, as long as you keep me helping me save money, you can go ahead and spend a little bit of that and help ensure I save more money by making this New York citizen problems and Californian problems because they're the ones that voted for this kind of stuff. So they want it in their life. We're just helping them out, right? They're just passing the buck, right? But they wanted to pick it up. So we're actually, technically, doing them a favor. So they should be thanking us, really, if you think about it.
That border.
Cheryl, coming to the other New Yorker here, 82% of New Yorkers say that this influx of migrants is a serious problem, and over half of voters disapprove.
Wait, only 82%? The other 12 or whatever are like, no, it's fine.
Border.
Cheryl, coming to the other New Yorker here, 82% of New Yorkers say that this influx of migrants is a serious problem, and over half of voters disapprove of the governor's job addressing this crisis.
Because Governor Hochul has been absent during this crisis. Mayor Eric Adams has constantly said that he needed help, he needed assistance. He's been crying for federal funding for the Biden administration. It's a joke what the Biden administration has offered the city of New York. To Tammy's point, this is a right to shelter city. This is a sanctuary city. This is what you get. You get what you vote for in New York. Having said that, it's the way that they've handled that I think is what you're seeing on your screen now play out with these fights that broke out in Staten Island in front of Gracie Mansion over the weekend. New Yorkers are fed up because these communities are being invaded with. Yeah,
and unlike some other cities, New York they may have been suppressed a little bit because they were trying to be extra nice. But that old school New York attitude, I think, is on the rise back. It's coming back. The no nonsense attitude, it's definitely coming back. And in general, right, humans like to fight, and this is the exact kind of thing that the people are willing to dig their heels in. So one of these sides is going to break eventually, and since the side that I'm defending has been around for thousands of years, and the woke ideology on the left is clearly failing due to its inconsistencies, I'm not too worried about it. We still got to fight the fight. Still got to fight the fight. But I'm not too worried about the end-game conclusion as long as there's people willing to continue to fight the fight. So, by the way, if you want to help me and help America in general, please support the channel by giving a subscription. I'm creating a Patreon and things like that too, by the way. There'll be some exclusive content on there once I get that set up. I have to create some more content first. And also, if you want to help me get into politics faster, along with help me create or expand the message out and get on other people's podcasts, I guess we'll call them, YouTube channels, I'm also going to go ahead and link down a GoFundMe as well, which will be used only for political campaign and the pushing of basically Republican and conservative values. So just throw that out in there real fast. Let's keep going.
With no notice, there's no input. All of a sudden, it's happened twice. There's 2 different shelters in my neighborhood, guys, and both of these shelters were filled up in the middle of the night. Ugh. The buses are showing up. I'm not kidding. They're showing up in the midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning because they don't want the television cameras out there. The way that they are doing this, it is sneaky, it is underhanded. Curtis Sliwa, I gotta say, 3 times he's been arrested in the last 2 weeks. Then he goes home to his Upper West Side apartment with all of his cats. He cares about New York, he loves New York, and he's furious.
Well, respectfully, okay, so Cheryl said you get what you vote for. I voted for Lee Zeldin, and that's why, in part, when you see this footage, guy, people are angry.
Yep, and to buttress Tammy's point on the math, roughly since Biden took office, we've seen 7 million illegal border crossings, including known gotaways, 7 million. So yeah, 100,000 people, that is going to be a strain on resources, et cetera. It is less than 1.5% of the border crossings on Joe Biden's watch. So I did see Governor Hochul finally, there was a headline that she was calling out the Biden administration. I said, okay, maybe this is too little too late, but at least she's saying something. But then I read what she said, and she tried to blame virtually all of this problem in New York on the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. She said it all started with...
See what I say. Let's see what she has to say on this.
Greg Abbott putting people on buses. No, it all started way before Greg Abbott had to deal with these folks, and it starts at the top. And the Biden administration's policies, Hochul's solution that she's out there advocating for is for the federal government to give tons of new benefits to the illegal immigrants, which will be part of the incentive problem and just pour even more gasoline on the fire. It's like, by the way, not only can you come to the U.S., federal taxpayers are going to give you, she was talking about healthcare and education and housing and all this stuff. That's her big solution.
No, see, all that costs money. That's one of the problems with California. And their empire is crumbling because they keep overtaxing the rich and will pay for all their stupid social programs. Because let me tell you this, for those of you that don't know, right? I was living in California, and I was already thinking about moving somewhere else. And long story short, I picked Texas for two specific reasons. I wanted, the main thing was I wanted a more stable political environment, and I wanted a more stable economic environment. Those are my two things. And it was the political thing that finally got me to that was the catalyst for me finally moving. Because somebody in California somewhere, I don't know all the details, it's a long time ago, but they were trying to, California is so broke trying to pay for all their stuff. They're in so much debt. They submitted a bill, somebody submitted a bill, and they were going to start taxing texting, like cell phone texting. And that they were going to go back 5 years into your text history to back tax you. Like, that's how much that's how desperate they are for money over there in California. So, no, that's what got me out of there. And then, like, 2 weeks after that, because California's kind of try and control all their civilians, rather than educating them on proper health nutrition, which, by the way, should just be a carnivore, They instead started trying to tax sugar. So like those normal, like one of these, I'm having a cheat day, right? But like one of these bottles or whatever, Texas, so it's Dr. Pepper, right? They don't sponsor me or anything, obviously. I'm a nobody. But anyway, one of those kind of bottles that costs like $1.50, $2 or something like that, would end up costing like $5 under we'll call it the sugar tax. So in the same year, like within 2 months, 3 months span of each other, the only bills that they were submitting were ways on how to take money out of people. So I was like, nah, I'll pass. Move on with my life. Pick Texas. It's better. We don't even have state income tax. And we just got the biggest, I think it's the Texas, we have the biggest property tax break in Texas history. I don't know how they're measuring it though. They might be slightly manipulative, but because facts, you can, or not facts, statistics, you can do that kind of stuff. But I'm also going to say then, if it's bigger than Texas history, I would also argue say it's one of, if not the biggest property tax breaks in U.S. history. So let's keep going then.
Blame the governor of Texas and make the magnet for illegal immigration even stronger. It's wild.
And isn't that the point? So, your expertise is national security. And the point is, as these local economies and cities are being devastated, at its heart, it's a national security origin and issue.
Well, it's the #1 national security threat, our undefended border. We have over 80-something people on the terror watch list who have gotten through just this year alone. So these are people on the terror watch list. Now, I like to say these are the terrorists that are stupid enough to get caught, but still, these are people that are crossing over the border.
That's a good point. What about all the ones, the terrorist ones that we haven't caught, right? If there's been like 2 million border crossings a year or something like that, 7 million total, whatever it was, like that's a lot of potential for some mess ups there.
So you have geopolitical issues and concerns. Guy and I were just talking about China, Russia. You have those concerns from a geopolitical perspective, but this is our #1 national security issue that we face as a country. And Emily, I was thinking as you guys were having the conversation, the administration has to know this is bad policy. When you have Democratic politicians on the border in Texas saying this isn't good, when you have the mayor of New York City screaming to the Democratic president and to this administration saying this isn't good, I need help, they know these policies are a problem. But Here's the thing. I don't think they're paying the price for them politically. And in 2022, they kept the Senate. And when you look at the places that are complaining in New York and in California, these are states, to be quite frank, from a political perspective, will go for President Biden in 2024. So until they start to actually pay a price politically, I'm not sure that they're going to change. I remember back when we had so many Syrian migrants and Libyan migrants that were going to Italy and that were going to Germany, and Angela Merkel started to pay a price politically in Germany for the number of migrants that she was taking in. Then they sort of reversed course. I don't think this administration has paid a political price just yet.
The one thing I would say about that, though, is if you look back...
Hopefully, though, we can win them in the 2024 elections, though, right? If that could be the start of the price the Democrats and those on the woke can start to pay. We can really take the catalyst off there to make America great again with, I'm guessing at this point, what is the date today? 8/28/2023? Is that at this point, Trump will probably be the main guy, as of right now. We're just going to assume that until further notice. So.
Back to 2022, no argument here that it was an underperformance by Republicans nationally, but House Republicans barely won the House back.
That's a good point.
If they hadn't won some of the races that they did in New York and California, Democrats would still have the majority, and Pelosi or whomever would have the gavel. So I think maybe the immigration issue and a few other of the left-wing failures actually did hammer Democrats in places where they thought they would be safer than they actually were. Question is, will that translate elsewhere?
Yeah. Good point.
And I wonder, so to that question, so if we sort of barely started tipping the scales, do you expect that it will in 2024?
Well, it's going to depend on what the public argument is. What is the rhetoric? What are the Republicans going to say? Can they actually not just say, we're not the Democrats, but that here's what our plan is to make a difference here? That we see, and like with crime, we talk about terrorism, over 10,000 encountered criminal aliens, people with a criminal record. You want to know how many of those 10,000 were arrested? About 780. So when we think about what's going on in communities, it's not just terrorism or the use of resources, it's the nature of the criminal aspect and what communities have to deal with. So the Republicans had better explain what they're going to do to reverse this.
Right. And
one of the big things I would say is increase funding for the police. Because if there's a lot more cops going around the cities in general, where are the criminals going to go? We can push them out to the outskirts, away from, we'll call them decent people, or citizens, not non-antisocial. Antisocial meaning destructive towards society, not just you don't want to go out to the bar one night. Okay, antisocial, destructive towards society. So that things like the murder and stealing are antisocial behaviors. So we need police to help ensure antisocial behaviors do not happen for the mass majority of people. That's one of the things I would do, but that's just me. I'm not a politician yet, but I'm working on it. Let's go ahead and wrap this up.
Want to know what communities are having to deal with? Just watch that footage. Hey everyone, I'm Emily.
Oh, never mind. I guess that was the end of it. I should have timed that better. But whatever. That's the problem when you do authentic reactions. So that was the Fox clip. If there's any other things you want to see me react to, go ahead and drop a link down below. Please subscribe, like, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you leave some comments. It really helps out me. It helps out the algorithm. And since I have nothing else in my life, nothing to do with my life right now, I most definitely will comment. So leave a paragraph. I like reading them. I love reading comments, even the negative ones. Just put some LOLs in there in case you're being sarcastic or something, just to help me kind of like read through, because you can't put tones right. You can't put accents or whatever in typing. So just as a heads up. But with that, this Phil will see you in the future.